Coming up on Point News, see how hundreds joined together for a vigil on Saturday, remembering the victims of the Tree of Life synagogue shooting.
And with any tragedy comes grief, especially when it hits close to home. Find out what Pittsburghers are doing to help cope with this grief.
One Pittsburgh sports team has made significant contributions to support the victims of the shooting, and we have the details. Point News starts now.
Live from the Point Park University Broadcast Center in downtown Pittsburgh, this is Point News.
Good afternoon and welcome to Point News. I'm Skylar Ruth.
And I'm Claire Costello. On Saturday, tragedy struck the city of Pittsburgh in what Mayor Bill Peduto called the darkest day of Pittsburgh's history. Just before 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, a gunman opened fire at the Tree of Life synagogue in Squirrel Hill, killing 11 people and injuring 6 others, including 4 police officers.
The suspected gunman is 46-year-old Robert Bowers of Baldwin. This morning at his arraignment, Bowers pleaded not guilty to 44 criminal counts. No court date has been set for the federal trial.
3 of our Point News reporters have been covering the tragedy since Saturday. On Saturday night, hundreds gathered outside the Tree of Life synagogue for a vigil. Point News reporter Carly Bonk has the details.
Here at the intersection of Forbes and Murray, a vigil was held Saturday night in remembrance of the victims of the Tree of Life synagogue shooting. 11 congregants were killed in Squirrel Hill Saturday when 46-year-old Robert Bowers of Baldwin burst into the building on Wilkins Avenue and opened fire with an assault-style rifle and 3 handguns around 10 o'clock Saturday morning. Bowers expressed his extreme anti-Semitic views online, but hadn't previously been on police's radar.
Well, typically we don't check our phones or computers on Shabbat, on the Sabbath, but we couldn't help but notice that all of our phones were buzzing.
Sixth Presbyterian Church and Alderday students organized this vigil around 2 o'clock up until the 6 o'clock start time, where they set up speakers and sang songs as a crowd of hundreds gathered around. According to the Anti-Defamation League, over a quarter of the world's population are harboring anti-Semitic attitudes. The vigil did not mirror that in the Squirrel Hill neighborhood, where, according to Brandeis University, 26% of Pittsburgh Jewish families.
A lot of the DICE students that organized this vigil organized the National School Walkout a few months ago after the Parkland shooting. So after the horrific tragedy this morning, we saw a need in our community to unify together.
Alderday students said that in the future, more vigils will be held over the next few days and weeks to support the Jewish community here in Squirrel Hill. For Point News 4, I'm Carly Bonk.
Saturday's vigil helped initiate the grieving process for those affected by the Tree of Life synagogue tragedy.
But for many, it can be a complicated and long process. Point News reporter Allison Schubert looked into how mass shooting can affect someone both physically and mentally.
According to Business Insider, nearly 300 mass shootings have occurred in 2018 alone. This one, at the Tree of Life synagogue in Squirrel Hill, hits a little closer to home. Saturday morning, 46-year-old Robert Bowers opened fire on 3 different congregations inside the synagogue. 11 people were killed and 6 more were injured, including 4 members of law enforcement. Since then, the entire Pittsburgh community has gathered to grieve the loss of those killed and the fact that a mass shooting happened in their own community.
The 5 stages of grief. So there's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. For most people, they don't experience them in any particular order.
According to the American Psychological Association, the physical and mental signs of grief typically differ, especially during an event that impacts an entire society as opposed to an individual. The APA cites isolation and distractedness as the main physical signs of grief, but symptoms of depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder as the main mental and emotional signs.
Even further inside things that we can't see, that it affects hormone levels, neurotransmitters, particularly cortisol, which is our stress hormone, if you will.
Pittsburgh has remained unified in the midst of the tragedy, using the hashtag #PittsburghStrong and holding up signs that read, "Hatred can't break a city of steel." Grief counselors, vigils, and various donation opportunities are available both on campus and in the Pittsburgh community for those struggling to deal with the recent events in Squirrel Hill. In downtown Pittsburgh, I'm Allison Schubert for Point News.
On Tuesday, President Donald Trump visited Pittsburgh to pay his respects to the victims of the Tree of Life synagogue shooting.
But his visit did come with some controversy, with some Pittsburgh leaders not wanting the president to make the visit. Point News reporter Samir Nefsi was on the scene.
President Donald Trump and the First Lady made their visit to the Tree of Life synagogue today, just 3 days after the shooting. Their visit comes with much controversy after many Pittsburgh leaders say they don't want the president to make his visit just yet. Just 2 days after the horrific massacre that killed 11 members at the Tree of Life synagogue, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders announced that President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump would make their visit to the grieving city of Pittsburgh. During the conference, Sanders said, quote, "Tomorrow the President and First Lady will travel to Pennsylvania to express the support of American people in grief with the Pittsburgh community." However, this visit comes with much controversy, as some residents do not want the First family to make their visit.
I didn't think he should be here. That was, just left it alone, at least for a few days, waited until things had died down, would have been a lot better.
And others feel that the President and First Lady should make their visit.
Should be able to come. Even Mr. Rogers, let him rest in peace, would say that. I think including our president.
According to an article by the Washington Post, Pittsburgh Mayor Bill Peduto was asked if he wanted the president to make a visit, and he stated, quote, "If the president is looking to come to Pittsburgh, I would ask that he not do so while we are burying the dead. Our attention and our focus is going to be on them. We do not have public safety that we can take away from what is needed in order to do both," end quote. After the First family arrived here to the synagogue, they went inside, and after coming out, they placed burial wreaths around the 11 stars behind me. When media asked President Trump for any comment, all he had to say was, "This is very, very sad." Among the mixed reviews of the First family visiting, 16-year-old Andy Harden believes that President Trump and his rhetoric are to blame for this incident.
It is too soon. He is part of the hatred, part of the reason this happened.
There are many thoughts and opinions surrounding whether President Trump and the First family should have visited yesterday or not. However, Jeffrey Myers, who's the Tree of Life synagogue rabbi, did tell CNN when asked if the president should visit, quote, "The President of the United States is always welcomed. I'm a citizen. He is my president. He is certainly welcome," end quote. For Point News 4, I'm Samir Nefsi.
We'll continue to provide coverage and updates on the tragedy in Squirrel Hill as the story develops. Next on Point News, find out how Pittsburgh sports teams are stepping up to help the victims of the shooting.
And will we see a drop in temperatures this weekend? We'll have your weekend forecast and more when Point News returns.
Go. Go to our new website, uview.pointpark.edu.
Go, 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 go!
Join UView and find your herd!
Join EOP. And 3, 2, 1. Join EOP.
Grab them now, or else I will snap.
Yeah.
Join On Point with Politics.
3, 2, 1.
Join Pioneer Sideline.
Loneliest number that you'll ever do.
Welcome back. The city of Pittsburgh is known for its sports team and their success on the field. However, it's their recent acts off the field that have been making headlines.
That's right, Claire. When tragedy struck on Saturday in Squirrel Hill, the Pittsburgh Penguins and Steelers stepped in to help. Our sports reporter Nicole Paxinos has the story. Nicole.
The horrific tragedy that happened right in our backyard on Saturday morning has taken a toll on everyone in the city of Pittsburgh. And the Steelers and the Pittsburgh Penguins have gone above and beyond to show their condolences and support to those innocent victims who lost their lives. The Pittsburgh Steelers held a moment of silence at their home game last Sunday, and members of the team and coaches paid their respects at funerals for the synagogue victims on Tuesday. This past Monday at PPG Paints Arena, the Penguins held a blood drive to gather donations. At the home game on Tuesday night against the New York Islanders, the team wore Stronger Than Hate patches on their jerseys, which will later be signed by the players and auctioned off. The Penguins held an emotional moment of silence before the game and also collected donations at all 3 entrances of the arena. In addition, the Penguins Foundation is also donating $50,000 to the Jewish Federation of Greater Pittsburgh and a fund to benefit the injured police officers. And that's all for sports this week. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Nicole. Even though we've seen a drop in temperatures as of late, that didn't stop people from coming out to the blood drive to show their support.
Yes, Claire, it definitely was cold and gloomy earlier in the week, but yesterday we finally saw some sun and some rain. Can we expect more of this over the weekend, Samir?
Unfortunately, Skylar, it looks like you're going to need an umbrella. So Halloween just passed, but it does seem that spooky weather is sticking around for a little bit. If you take a look today, a high of 57 and a low of 55. Pretty cold today, guys. Precipitation 80%, as you know, it already rained so far. And then on Friday, it's going to be a high of 58 and a low of 42, not looking any better. And then precipitation is only at 30%. On Saturday, it's going to be a high of 47, low of 35, 70% chance of precipitation as well that day. And on Sunday, we're going to have a high of 57 and a low of 43, only 10% chance of precipitation that day, so it's not looking too bad, Skylar, so I'll send it back to you.
Now, even though no one wants to think about the weekend ending, next Tuesday is a big day for Pittsburghers and citizens of the United States.
That's right, Skylar. This coming Tuesday is Election Day, and our reporter Taylor Fife has all of the information voters will need as they head to the polls. Taylor?
Pennsylvania polls are open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Election Day. According to Votes PA, even if you are in line when the polls close, you are still entitled to vote. The organization also states that those who are registered to vote can find their local polling place on their voter registration card by calling their county election office, or they can look it up online at votespa.com/pollingplace. Also, it is important to note that if you have voted at your polling location before, you do not need to bring ID. But if you are voting for the first time, you need to make sure to show ID to vote. I'm Taylor Fife reporting for Point News.
When we come back, find out what Point Park is doing to recognize local women in the industry.
And see how the Forensic Science Club celebrated National Forensic Science Week. Stay tuned for more Point News.
What's one word to describe CAB?
Welcoming.
Community.
Creative.
Experiences.
Family. Openness.
Pineapple.
The Campus Activities Board is a student-run organization that consists of 7 different committees. Each focuses on event planning, marketing, and administrative activities. Join us in organizing the juiciest events on campus, from late-night bingo to festive dances to our team bonding meetings. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Point Park Cap, or like us on Facebook at Campus Activities Board at Point Park University.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Troop alongside Jess Paterchak.
Defending his decision to kick out 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States.
Thanks, Allison. Fitness on Demand has returned to Point Park.
Residents fear that Mount Agung will have a repeat of 1963's eruption.
Two-star NFL quarterbacks made the headlines this week after wrapping up.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Nick Tomarello, I'm Alex Grubbs. Have a great night.
Welcome back here at Point Park. The Rollins School of Business is providing students with the opportunity to network with leaders in the business industry.
That's right, Skylar. Women are in the forefront of discussion. I attended this month's speaking event and I was able to see what it was all about.
Students are gathering here behind me for a very special and empowering event held by the Rollins School of Business here at Point Park University. The Women in Industry, also known as the WIN Speaker Series, happens every last Wednesday of the month and is an opportunity for students to network with leaders in the business world.
I'm here this evening to just talk to some of the students about opportunities as a woman in our industry and some of the challenges that I've faced in my career and hopefully help them in their careers in the future.
Each month, influencers visit the university in hopes to educate students on how they can prepare for their futures and where they stand in the business world. Students are welcome to attend the open reception from 5:30 to 6 before the additional speaking event actually happens. Now here behind me we have a buffet that is catered by Colin Arts here at Point Park University.
I'm excited to be part of this event tonight because it's fantastic to be able to give back to students, to be able to provide mentoring, and I'm hoping that we can provide them with some advice on what they can do after graduation, what they can expect in the field, and those kind of things.
We need to build each other up. We need to take it as a team approach. Whether you're female or male, you need to work together, right? Because at the end of the day, our goal is to do what's right for our customers, is to do right for our bank, and it's to do right by us, by our families.
Students can gather here in the West Penn lobby every last Wednesday of the month to hear speakers from all over the Pittsburgh area. For Point News, I'm Claire Costello.
Today is November 1st, and that means Breast Cancer Awareness Month has officially come to an end.
But even though the month is over, the fight against breast cancer is always ongoing, and a new study has given hope for those battling the disease. According to the CDC, about 139 women per 100,000 contract breast cancer in their life. But a new international clinical study by the UPMC Hillman Cancer Center and University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine suggests a combination of immunotherapy and chemotherapy has immense benefits for patients suffering from triple-negative breast cancer. Triple-negative breast cancer is a more intense and dangerous form of breast cancer that occurs in 10 to 20% of all breast cancer cases. In this new study, survival has extended by 3 to 4 months compared to chemotherapy alone.
In other science-related news, Point Park University's Forensic Science Club recently celebrated National Forensic Science Week on campus. The week aims to inform people about what Forensic Science Week is and what the everyday life of a forensic scientist entails. Each day of the week, featured a different activity or event that students could participate in. One of the week's events gave students and faculty the opportunity to step into the shoes of a forensic scientist and try to solve a crime. A crime scene was set up in the lobby of Academic Hall, and it was up to participants to piece together clues in order to figure out how the crime was committed. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, careers in forensic science are expected to increase by 31% from 2010 to 2020. Forensic Science Club President Mindy Vivio says that the week also hopes to encourage students to join the club and gain an interest in forensic science career fields.
Kind of look at the crime scene, read the details, and then there are 4 scenarios there, and they can choose which one that they think is the solution to the crime.
And if you missed out on a chance to participate in Forensic Science Week, the club plans to put on more events for students and faculty throughout the remainder of the academic year.
Well, that's all we have time for on this week of Point News. I'm Skylar Ruth.
And I'm Claire Costello. We'll see you again next Thursday at 2 p.m. Have a great week, everyone.